Check you out. Back for more. Week 15. I got to say, I'm impressed. Hanging around, doing well. Hopefully last week felt good. It wasn't too much because we're going to go up a little bit more this week. We're going to keep things the same on Monday, running a swim. And then just like last Tuesday, the big gear work, I was talking about either you're outside riding hills or you're doing big gear work indoors. The biggest gear you can push at around 50 RPM. But this time, instead of 24 minutes of big gear work, it's going to be 30. So if you did 6 times 4 minute intervals last week, I want you to do 6 times 5 this time. And take a minute to 2 minutes between. Yeah. We found that longer recovery breaks don't really matter. So 2 minutes should be fine for you here. And then just cool down to make an hour. On Wednesday, we're going up with a little bit longer run. No strides this time, but just 35 minutes easy. Swim 30 easy. Thursday's the same sort of recovery ride, easy for an hour. So that's 2 hours, and we're back on the bike. And this time, Friday, we got a little run. We are adding, looks like 5 minutes total run duration this week, but we're adding 15 minutes again onto the bike. We want you strong on the bike. We want you strong in the water, because if you can't get out off the bike strong enough to run, all this running doesn't really matter that much. I mean, it does, but you got to feel strong enough off the bike. Which gets me thinking I should talk about racing a little bit. All right, so we're starting the sprint. The first thing I want you guys to do is, you get there early enough so that when you're standing around waiting in line to get in the water, I want you to warm up. I'm big on arm circles and this kind of thing, and just get the blood flowing to your upper body. So when you get in the water, it's not like your body's confused. A lot of people just kind of get real cold in the morning and hit the water and they're not warmed up, and then they wonder why they didn't have a good swim. Well, I like to say get a nice lather before you get in the water on a race, almost like you're sweating. Now, depending on the time of year, sometimes it's hot in the morning, so you almost need to cool down, and I always bring a water bottle and spray, especially if I got a wetsuit on or something like that. If you guys are doing... Yeah, we can talk about wetsuits. I mean, a lot of times people say in the sprint, hopefully you won't need it. Even if it's wet, the water's not that cold, you might not need it. I mean, some people say it takes longer to get out of it than it's worth to save the time. But wetsuits are definitely an advantage, and more so when you get into the Olympic half and full distance, because of the time it overall saves and the distance and everything like that. But I wouldn't get. I would shoot, depending on what time of the year. If it's going to be warm in the water, most likely you won't need a wetsuit, or it won't be wetsuit legal if it's a sprint. But sometimes it is, and that's up to you. I also say whatever's most comfortable. If you're going to use a wetsuit, definitely want to swim in it at least a few times before you do, because that's a whole nother ballpark. If you haven't been in a wetsuit, it's real sort of claustrophobic in nature, and that's another reason why when you put it on, you want to stretch it out and get it nice and loose and make sure it fits well, because you don't want to be too tight in that thing. And then hopefully, the swim can be treated in theory as a nice warm up. You don't want to go too damn hard. You don't want to be out of breath. I mean, the more you get into this and the more you understand pacing and the ability to go out swimming strong, that's one thing. But in your first sprint, you just want to kind of warm up and get out of the water feeling good. Then you get on the bike, and then you make sure you get, some hydration going. And, sprints typically don't need a ton of fueling, so you don't have to worry necessarily about a lot of nutrition. But we can talk about that later, and I'll probably write it in some of this stuff too. But you'll get on the bike and get your legs going, give them time to warm up, and then settle into a pace, settle into your all day pace for about, until you got your, let's see, 80% of the way through. And if you feel a little bit strong towards the end, then you can pick it up. It's kind of that negative split mentality in the bike. And the same goes for the run. You get off the bike, you take your time, get what you need, and then come out. Don't come out too hot. Think about running that first half of the sprint, under control. And then once you get to mile 1.5 or 2 and you got it in you, then you can kind of just leave it all on the table. But anyway, that's sort of a brief summary of how to think about racing. And we are talking about week 15 here. So Sunday you'll end with a 30-minute Zone 2 run. Again, Zone 2 is moderate. It's more or less conversational pace. So just keep it easy out there. And, this is the other thing is with all the running you've been doing, you should feel like you're getting faster, hopefully at a lower heart rate if you're checking that. I mean, that's another way to check. If you can run a certain speed with a lower heart rate, that means you're getting faster. So you'll have more in the tank than you think. All right. We will see you next week, 16. Thanks.